666. The mileage of the beast. Oh, come on, that shit's funny right there. Do you ever do something that is so dumb that you wonder if your brain is actually functioning properly? You get more concerned about losing your mind, the possibility that you may be losing your mind, than whatever it was you did that was so dumb. I've been riding motorcycles my whole life, since I was a kid. And with the exception of dirt bikes when I was a kid and moto racing, I've never crashed a motorcycle. I've never dropped a motorcycle. I put 24,000 miles on a brand new Harley, not a scratch on it. I pride myself on taking care of things, and being conscious, paying attention so that little dumb things don't happen. And ironically enough, this is interesting. The very same day that what I'm about to tell you about, the very same day that it happened, I happened to find a video online, a new vlogger. I don't recall his name yet. I've only watched the one video. But he's got a really nice, I think it's a Repsol Edition Honda, gorgeous sport bike. And in the one video that I saw, he dropped it. He just came to a stop and was adjusting himself, leaned one little bit too far the wrong way and fell over. And this happens a lot, especially among newer riders. I hear about it all the time, and every time I hear about it, I secretly shake my head because I think, who drops motorcycles? You don't drop a motorcycle. That's just something you don't do. It's especially when it's so second nature for you to be on a bike. It's just not something you're typically going to do. Not when you've been riding 20-something years. So this is what I did the other day that was so dumb that I'm still shaking my head. I seriously am concerned about the functioning of my brain. Like, I'm no longer I'm no longer sane anymore. Like, what am I thinking? What am I doing? I'm on Sadie the other day. I come home. I'm getting ready to put her in the garage. And I look in there, and Sarah, my sport bike, is setting up on the jack stands, just the back stand, which I generally keep her up on. And I think to myself, yeah, I guess it has been a couple days since I've even taken Sarah out, because, when you're just riding around town, this is kind of the choice bike. If I'm just going to the grocery store or I'm just running around town, this is just a better bike to go cruising around with. So anyway, I think, yeah, I might as well pull her down off the stands and just take her for a quick spin, kind of go up the highway, come back, just to really start it and run it, no other reason. And so what I did is I walked over, put my left hand on the, the handle that's on the back of an F4i, as I always do. And I pulled it down off the stand. You know how a rear stand works, you know. So I set it down on the back wheel, pulled the stand away, and as I usually do when you got the kickstand down, you just let it fall over. Let it fall over on its you know, kickstand side. And so I did, and I let it go. I didn't let it go. My hand was still on the handle the whole time, but I did let it fall over. Hello? What are you doing? I did let it fall over. Oh, okay. And as it got to the point where I realized, and this all happens like any other accident in just a split second, a blinding second, and yet in slow motion, where you have time to think, where you have time to see these things happening in slow motion, although it still happens in a split second. So I see it. I don't have the kickstand down. That's the whole point. I see it going over past the point of where the kickstand should have caught it, and I still see that it's falling over, and I've got one hand on it. And like I said, it all happens in a split second, but it happens in slow motion to where I have time to realize, holy shit, I don't have the kickstand down, and I'm just letting the bike go, and I'm watching my sport bike fall over. And like I said, I never let go of it. I still had my hand on the handle in the rear. But as you guys know, a CBR 600 F4i weighs about 450 pounds. For the record, want me to go? I'll go. For the record, I weigh 120 pounds. I'm 5'6". Do the math. Let's just do the math for a second here. So as it's going over, and I'm holding on to it with one hand, and like getting my mind back in of realizing, oh my God, I'm just letting my sport bike fall over here in the garage. I catch it as best I can, and it drags me pretty much to the ground. And so now I'm holding on to it with one hand. It falls all the way over to where the crankcase was touching the ground. All the way over, down to the point where the crankcase is on the ground. And I'm sitting there with one hand on it. I finally struggle to get underneath of it enough, you know, get my body between it and the ground. This is not a time to be concerned about personal safety. I get myself between the bike and the ground and, you know, do a kind of a bench press or whatever you want to call it, a leg press, you know, and just that, for that split second when it's actually down on the ground, I realized, and it clicked to me, oh my God, it's on the ground, you know. There was a burst of adrenaline, that, you know, that rush where you're just like, what? And I just, boom, I just picked it right back up. And I'll show you the clip here. I mean, if I did not tell you that this happened, you couldn't know that this happened by looking at the bike. It didn't do anything to it. Yes, let me back up. It did one thing. When I bought Sarah, someone had put a prayer bell on it. You know what those are? The little, here, I'll show you the clip. It had a prayer bell on it. Someone had put on there. And I liked it. I thought it was a good idea. And the one thing it did was that it crushed the prayer bell. The fork and the prayer bell was the only thing, you know, the prayer bell was on the ground and the bike was crushing it with the fork, and that was the only thing that got damaged. So after I pick it up, after all this is over, again, split seconds, this all happens quickly. After that, I'm standing there just shaking my head. I just can't believe what I just did. As I said, in 20 years of riding motorcycles, I have never dropped a bike, crashed a bike, did anything like that. And I'm also used to, okay, I've seen a lot of new people that have, they're new on riding a motorcycle and they have difficulty walking the bike. Either because of the balance or whatever, especially like backing it up, things of that nature. Well, I'm so used to motorcycles that I can be parked on a hill, I can get on a bike, put the kickstand up, put it in neutral, start it, roll backward, put my feet up, roll backwards and do a 180 half arc and take off without ever touching the ground. You know, I'm sorry. So, so to do something so idiotic as to just pull my sport bike down off the rack and then just basically just let go of it. I mean, are you kidding me? What is wrong with me? And seriously, that whole night, and I did end up taking Sarah out just for it's kind of like one of those fall off a horse thing. Come on, all right. It was kind of one of those, like, you know, fall off a horse thing, go ahead and get back on it. But I was so shaky and so nervous just because of the fact that it just shocked me that I would even do something like that. It's by far one of the dumbest things I've ever did. And it could be the onset of some neurological disease or something where my brain's no longer functioning. But I've just never seen anything like that. I've never did anything like that, and it shocked me so much that I could just blatantly do something so silly that it actually concerned me that something must be wrong with my brain. You know, about 3 weeks ago, right after it was about 3 weeks ago, I guess. I went out one night and I got all suited up because I wanted to go out and test my winter gear, and it was pretty chilly that night. So I go out and I first of all obviously get suited up and I leave. And I come back home about an hour later after a short ride. I come back home and I walk up my porch and my front steps and I look at my door and it's wide open. And my first thought, oh, here we go. My first thought was not that someone broke into my house. My first thought was, you gotta be kidding me. I left my front door wide open and left? What? And that's exactly what I did. Exactly what I did. Laptops, computer equipment, cameras, you know, all this stuff sitting right out in the living room. I was kind of like using that as my office that day. Come back home and realize that I had left the door open and just left for an hour. Oh, wow. Well, at least if I am losing my mind, I might as well enjoy the ride. Thanks for listening.